I want to thank everybody for joining us today. My name is Calev and I've been asked to be the MC of this very important and special occasion. I want to especially welcome Deputy Speaker of the Knesset, Dannon, who's also the founder and chairman of this new caucus. I understand that we also have a state senator here from South Carolina, Alan Clement. So welcome to you, Mr. Clement, and thank you for joining us. Why are we here today? Why is it necessary in the year of 2011 to form a new Knesset caucus to combat anti-Semitism? We would like to think and hope that anti-Semitic worldviews are a challenge of the past, but unfortunately, empiric data today informs us otherwise. Within the last few weeks, the Anti-Defamation League published startling results from a telephone poll that they carried out in the United States. Among other statistics, we find that 15% of Americans harbor deep anti-Semitic views. 19% said that the Jews have too much influence over Wall Street. And close to 30% said that Jews are more loyal to Israel than to America. For those of you who are American, you might say, what's the problem with that, with Jews being more loyal to Israel than to America? The problem stems because delegitimizing the existence of the Jewish state in Israel is a new and sophisticated growing form of anti-Semitism. It's safe to say that the United Nations, the very organization that voted Israel into existence exactly 64 years ago to this day, has become by and large a relatively anti-Semitic organization. The United Nations has an obsession with condemning and delegitimizing Israel today. And just to prove my point, over 80% of the emergency sessions of the United Nations have been called to condemn one out of 193 member states. You can probably guess which one that is. Israel. So you may have heard people say, I'm not anti-Jewish, I'm just anti-Zionist. I think that is an impossible statement. Many of us were shocked by the words of Helen Thomas, a longtime BBC political consultant to the White House. She was actually the longest political consultant ever to serve in the White House. And she said in May of last year, I quote, "The Jews should get the hell out of Palestine and go home to Germany or Poland." Well, if Helen's concept of home for the Jews is Germany or Poland, I don't think I'd want to live in Helen's home. But that's beyond the point. In other words, Helen doesn't have a problem with the existence of 5 million Jews living in the diaspora. It's just the 7 million that live in Israel that bother her and create a problem for her. According to Helen, it's basically a 60-40 problem. Now, Helen later resigned because of the controversy that her statement created. But my question to you today is, was she just expressing a personal opinion, or should we be concerned about a more general and growing phenomena? Let's look a little bit closer to home. Egypt's presidential candidate, Tawik Okasha, would tend to agree with her. He just said in a television interview last month on the 30th of December, and I quote, "Not all the Jews in the world are evil. You may ask, Tawfik, what is the ratio? The ratio is 60-40. 60% are evil to varying degrees, all the way to the level that words cannot describe, while 40% are not evil. Therefore, they, however, are divided into 3 categories. These are the non-evil ones. One group consists of the non-evil, another group consists of the non-evil to a lesser degree, and the third group consists of a non-evil to even a lesser degree. Might there be anyone who stands out among them? It is rare. Maybe 1 in a million. Thank you, Mr. Tawfik, that there might be 13 non-evil Jews in the world. Maybe 1 in a million, but what does this classification mean? It means that you can coexist normally with approximately 40% of the Jews. They do not betray, conspire, extort, or view others as Gentiles. They believe in the concept of Gentiles, but this belief does not affect their conduct. That's from a man who's likely to be the next president of the nation of Egypt. Some of you, our Christian guests, might not think that this problem has much to do with you, but I would beg to differ. We should always remember the words of Reverend Martin Niemöller, a German evangelical pastor commenting on the events of Germany from 1933 to 1939. He said, "They came first for the communists, but I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, but I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the Unionists, but I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Unionist. Then they came for the Catholics, but I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and by that time, there was no one left to speak up for me." A world that hates people just because of their ethnic or religious affiliation is a world that I don't want to live in. And I want to extend, by the way, a very warm welcome to the relatively large Christian group we have with us from the ministry of Chuck Missler. Chuck is a renowned Bible teacher in the United States, and I believe that historic facts would confirm that where biblical illiteracy exists, there exists anti-Semitism. Hence, biblical education is a very effective tool for combating anti-Semitism, and I want to commend Chuck Missler, and thank you for joining us, that group. But without further ado, I want to introduce the admirable and distinguished members of Knesset who've decided to establish this new caucus. Someone who's been dealing with these and similar issues over the last decade is member of Knesset Dannon, again, who's the founder and chairman of this new caucus from the Likud party. Danny is the deputy speaker of the Knesset and chairman of the Committee for Immigration, Absorption, and Diaspora Affairs. Danny is an active legislator, as well as the chairman of the World Likud Movement and an unrelenting spokesman for the State of Israel around the world. Let's welcome Danny as he comes to address us.
Shalom. Welcome to the Knesset, welcome to Jerusalem. I know for many of you it's not the first visit. I'm very happy to be here today. It's a special day, not because you are here, it's a special day because it's November 29, the day that we mark the historical miracle. And when you read the Bible, it's all full of miracles. But I think that today we mark the historical decision about the creation of a Jewish state in Israel. And for us, it was a miracle when it happened, and every time we celebrate this day. And I want to invite you, all of you, after this event, we're going to have a big celebration in the center of Jerusalem, where we're going to do the same dancing and singing that happened here in Israel in 1948. It will take place today at 1:30, and I know that some of you are very good dancers here. my dear friend, Senator Ellen Clemens from South Carolina, we're very happy and honored to have you here with us. We want to thank you for the important legislation you passed in the State Senate in South Carolina. This is exactly what we are here today, to work with friends of Israel and to fight anti-Semitism and anti-Israel factors. Stuart Kaufman, who came with you from New York, Calev Myers, Eli Chazan, Michal Kafri, Advocate Nir Kimchi, and many dear friends who come here to Jerusalem. You know, sometimes when I was a child, we used to say there are a lot of anti-Semite people out there. Today you will not find anyone who will come and say, in your hometown, I'm anti-Semite. It is not politically correct. So nobody will write a letter or an article will say, I hate the Jewish people. I hate the Jews who live next door to me. But there is something new today. Anti-Israel. The delegitimization of Israel is a new game. And you see the amount of hatred against Israel today, and we cannot ignore it. This is real anti-Semitism. Look what happened now in Tunisia. You know, there's a new word now, Arab Spring. I don't know who gave this word to the press, but it sounds so romantic, you know, like it's coming from a story of Lawrence of Arabia. The Arab Spring, there will be a new democracy in the Middle East. But in Tunisia, this week, they're passing a bill that it will be forbidden to speak to Israelis. They didn't say to Jews, to Israelis. And when you see the amount of hatred coming from those places, we understand that we have to fight it, and that's what we are doing here today. We formed an important organization to fight back, to speak up, Christian and Jews together, and it is very important. I want to share with you a visit. As Calev mentioned, I'm the chairman of the World Likud, and I visited the new nation of Southern Sudan a few months ago. And for me, it was very important to be the first Israeli official to visit Southern Sudan. And when I spoke with the president, Salva Kiir, about the tasks and obstacles of the new nation, and he told me something, he told me, Danny, it is not about the oil that we are fighting with the Muslims from Northern Sudan. It is not about the borders that we're fighting with the Muslims from Northern Sudan. It is about the very existence of Christians here in Sudan. And this is exactly what we see here today in Israel. It is not about settlements. It is not about dividing Jerusalem. It is not about making concessions. And with all due respect to your President Barack Obama, it is not about what we are not doing. It is about the very existence of Jews in the land of Israel. And for that matter, we have to speak out. And I am very happy to see and to know that we have strong friends who are not afraid to speak up for the state of Israel. In September, I was with few friends that joined me in New York, in front of the UN, when they held the Durban, you can call it a conference. And I was shocked to see thousands of Christians standing in New York City, despite all the traffic. You know what is New York when you have the UN convention in September? Came from different states and held signs, stand with Israel. And that's exactly what you are doing today. You are standing with Israel. You are standing with the Jewish people of Israel. And we are very, very honored to have you as partners for us. But you know, as partners, you receive and you give. And I want to ask you to give today. I want you to be committed to the cause, to speak up for the state of Israel. I know it's not easy. I know it's not going to be a short journey. It's going to be a long one. But the people of Israel, by the fact that you come to Israel, you support Israel, it is very important. It gives us a lot of courage. And here in the Caucus, with members of Knesset from different parties, we will work hand to hand with you to promote and to speak up. This is the bottom line. Because I don't need to convince you about the rights of Jews to live in the land of Israel. And you do not need to convince me about freedom of religion in Israel. And we all know that we have a common enemy, which is those people who maybe now they speak against the Saturday people, but then they will speak against the Sunday people. We have the common values, the common challenges, and unfortunately, the common enemies. And for that matter, we will work together. And I want to thank you for coming to Israel, coming to the Knesset, and taking part in this important mission. And I can assure you that you will hear a lot about our activities, and we will do and we'll make a lot of change. And I learned from Prime Minister Shamir, and I will finish with that. But I worked with 3 prime ministers in Israel, with Prime Minister Shamir, Prime Minister Sharon, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, which I'm proud to be a member of his party today, the Israeli Prime Minister. But once I asked Prime Minister Shamir, what gave you the courage to build the nation of Israel? And he had a very major role in the establishment of the Jewish state. And he told me, first you need the ideology, second you need the organization, and third, most important, you need to believe. And that's what we are here today. We have the ideology, we're putting up the organization, and we are all strong believers. Jews and Christians believe in the rights of Jews to live in the land of Israel, to live proudly, and we are not going to be afraid. Thank you very much. Welcome to Yerushalayim. Toda Rabba.